1964, the tribute was once hailed as the best Beatles tribute on earth by Rolling Stone magazine, and they've been spending the last 38+ years maintaining that title playing worldwide, to the delight of Beatle fans everywhere.
Hello, my name is Mark Benson, and I work with a band called 1964 The Tribute, and this is my 38th year doing this show.
My name is Jimmy Poe, and I played George in the group 1964 for about 12 years. I did that.
Hey everybody, my name is Mac Ruffing, and I play Paul in 1964 The Tribute. It's just over 10 years I've been in the group.
Hi, I'm Joe Bologna. I got into music when I was about 5.
The reason I got into music was I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show on February 9th, 1964. I was living in Miami, Florida. I told my parents that night, that's what I want to do. I want to be on stage playing guitar and have girls screaming at me.
My first introduction to the Beatles was as a 3-year-old toddler. I have 2 older sisters that were teenagers at the time, and I just couldn't get away from it, you know.
It's funny, I had played music through my teen years and my early 20s, and then I got a life. I got a job and a wife and a home and kids. I had a job at the post office. I was a mailman, but things got a little dangerous. So I left that job and got an office job, but my pay scale went down. So I was looking for a part-time weekend job. And I looked in the paper and it said, Ringo wanted. Must sing as good or as bad as Ringo. I said, I can do this.
We never, ever, ever thought this was going to be something that we would do full-time, or we hadn't really intended it to be full-time. We thought this was going to be a baby boomer thing, and that we'd do, you know, a class party or a class reunion or, you know, an oldies party or something like that, just once every 6 months, just at home in Ohio. And by the second year, it was full-time. We played colleges coast to coast in America and Canada for about 9 or 10 years. And that opened up the performing arts centers and the theaters and places like Carnegie Hall and Shea Stadium and Red Rocks Amphitheater and the Deauville Hotel in Miami Beach.
I never in a million years would dream that years later I would end up in a tribute band playing one of the Beatles.
So I'm naturally right-handed. I learned to switch over to left hand on the bass for the look, you know, because Paul is left-handed. And so it took a long time, and eventually got the hang of it and been doing it since, and it makes a big difference for the visual look.
1964, the tribute decided early on they would replicate the Beatles' style from their first album up to Revolver. This era had the most significant impact on their own musical development. Fortunately, most members were veterans of Beatles music from previous tribute groups and had many years of experience honing their craft.
When we do these shows, people will come up to us and say, man, when you played Twist and Shout, I was back in 7th grade with my buddies or this girlfriend or whatever. And it's a moment in their life that really stands out because of that song.
We just enjoy it, have a good time. The crowds know the music and love it. It never gets old for me. And sometimes the traveling does, but, you know, that's another story.
A good friend of ours was the drummer for the Whites, that is one of the house bands at the Grand Ole Opry, and his good friend is Ricky Skaggs. So he brings Ricky to one of our shows, and I know Ricky's in the audience in Nashville, and I'm thinking, this isn't really the kind of show you ask someone to sit in with. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to let him enjoy the show. Just let him go. And so after the show, he comes backstage with this guitar case in his hands, and I'm thinking, here he is with a guitar. And he goes, no, I didn't bring this to sit in. I just wanted to show you because I thought you'd appreciate it. And he opens the case, and it's like a day it was made, new old stock, 1964 Gretsch Country Gentleman, like George Harrison played. So, I mean, it was really cool. And he had his 10-year-old son with him. And I reached in my pocket and gave him a guitar pick, because it's just what I do. And his son looks at Ricky and goes, Dad, look, he gave me a guitar pick. And I'm like, Ricky, I know this is not how this is supposed to go. And he says, believe me, I'm just dad to him.
And we have a rehearsal one day, and the drummer comes up to me and he says, hey, I'll give you $500 if the guy outside isn't George Martin. And I said, what's he doing out there? He said, well, he's buying tickets to our show. He's in a long line. I said, why would George Martin buy tickets to our stupid little Beatles show? So I believed him, and I went out there, and sure enough, it was George Martin. So I walked up to him, I said, "Mr. Martin, are you really buying tickets for our show?" And of course, he's real tall. And he says, "You must play George." And I said, "Yes, I do. My name's Jimmy Poe." And he says, "Yes, I was buying tickets for me and my 2 daughters." And I said, "Well, would you mind if I put you on the guest list instead? I have a feeling they'll put you on the guest list for free." And he says, "Oh, that would be lovely." I said, "The only favor I ask in return is that after the show, you come backstage and meet the rest of the guys in the dressing room." And he said, "Oh, of course." And so the next night, the show opens up and the curtain goes up and we're singing "She Loves You." And we look down, and right dead center in the 3rd row is George Martin, and he's standing here like this, looking at us. And the rest of the guys went, "Oh my God, it's George Martin." And so, I looked down at my legs, and my legs were shaking like this, and I thought, he's going to be here for 2 hours, so just relax. And he came upstairs to the dressing room, and his 2 little daughters asked us for our autographs. It was embarrassing as you can be. And of course, he said, "There were times when I imagined you were I was drifting off, and I imagined you being the 4 lads." And we said, "Oh, wow, thank you very much."
We did Broadway. That was pretty awesome. And I ended up on top. It's amazing. And I'm just glad I don't have to work for a living anymore. So, funny stories, I've got some, but they aren't appropriate.
As any musician, we're blessed that anybody wants to hear anything we do more than once. So for people to keep coming back for 38 years to see this show is quite a feather in the cap for us, and we couldn't be more thankful that this has lasted this long.